One of the common conversations surrounding all forms of media, especially anime, is the process of adaptation. There's the age-old saying of, "the book is always better," something I thoroughly disagree with, as I find it more telling of the human inability to accept change than a valuable critique. Many fans of the Lord of the Rings novels adamantly argue that Peter Jackson choosing to cut the character of Tom Bombadil from the Fellowship of the Ring was wrong. And hey, it's a really great part of the book that expands Middle-earth in interesting ways, but in a film it would only serve to elongate an already lengthy runtime and muddy the thematic elements. However, Jackson's decision to turn The Hobbit, a brief adventure novel, into an equally lengthy trilogy of films is a perfect example of a poor adaptation. What I'm getting at here is simple. Change isn't inherently a bad thing, and people need to stop being so fussy about not getting the same exact story twice. All the while being mindful of the fact that manga, anime, books, movies, television, video games, and so on are wildly different mediums, often requiring wildly different approaches. With that said, let's discuss why Junji Ito Collection is such a poor adaptation of Junji Ito's work. Studio Deen is not totally unfamiliar to the horror genre, having most famously adapted Higurashi and Jikoko Shoujo, though the studio is also responsible for the infamous Pupa, so maybe that evens things out. But clearly there are those who have worked at the studio who've experience in the field. Looking at the credits list provided by Mile and Anime News Network, it seems Studio Deen decided to hand the helm over to the more unproven talent. Director Shinobu Takashira has 2 prior project director credits, a music video for a video game series, and Diabolic Lovers. Meanwhile, series composition is handled by Karu Sawada, which ANN lists a whopping 2 prior staff positions of any kind. A vague special thanks for Kyoto Animation's 2005 film Air, and screenplays for 3 episodes for the 2004 anime Diamond Daydreams. It's worth noting ANN and Mao are not entirely comprehensive lists, but it's safe to say the directing and writing of Collection were entrusted to 2 people without much praiseworthy work attached to their names. The direction is noticeably uninvolved in the episode 3 short, The Crossroads Pretty Boy. Shot composition does little to aid the horror. It's really just an inferior, slightly animated version of the original art by Ito, attempting to carry. Unfortunately, it can achieve no such task. The episode begins on a surprising high note thanks to veteran sound designer Hozumi Goda, who performed the same role on the aforementioned Higurashi. Coupled with the eerie jazz, the foreboding echoing footsteps in a place where no such thing should be happening, the pretty boy is introduced in an appropriate fashion. Nothing about how the pretty boy is visually framed does any such good. He's creepy looking, but only because Ito designed him, not because of any exceptional directing, storyboarding, or shot composition. It's just stiff close-ups. This issue persists throughout the episode as character models become inconsistent and the plot goes nowhere, leaving the audience to assume it'll be wrapped up in another episode, which is really strange given the structure of the show, that being multiple shorts per episode with undetermined runtimes. Sometimes they'll evenly split 24 minutes, or maybe one takes up 20 minutes and the other takes up 2. Moving further through the Crossroads Pretty Boy short, compare this dead body reveal to say something like Steins Gates, or even the final minutes of episode 7 of Aku no Hana. There's not a drop of blood in the whole uncomfortable extended scene, just Kasuga finally cracking, finally embracing his illicit desires and releasing a built-up tension, in a way he'll never recover from. Never be normal again. It's a far creepier and frankly scarier experience than literally anything in Collection, and much of that is thanks to the superb direction of Hiroshi Nagahama. As is the case with many manga adaptations, Collection almost rips the manga panels wholesale for its own use. Now, a good anime will do so, but find ways to take advantage of the medium. For example, Season 1 of Attack on Titan nails the feeling of momentum, speed, and finesse of the 3D maneuver gear. Obviously a difficult, if not impossible task for manga author Hajime Isayama, but because Tetsuro Araki is so good at directing hit anime, he and his team crafted something the manga could not. It fills in what happens between each panel of the source material. Meanwhile, transitions in Collection are awkward. Large groups of frames are missing. A character will be standing in one spot and suddenly appear in another, as if they just adapted the portion as exactly as possible. Where a manga doesn't need to show someone walking around a corner frame by frame, an anime does. Which would seem obvious, but I don't think the creators of the show fully understand that, or at least didn't put that into use. This video could be 20 minutes of pointing out each individual occurrence of how this adaptation flat out screws up, but I'll save us both the trouble. If you need more examples, go watch the show for yourself, though I'd highly suggest not doing so. Junji Ito is known as a master of his medium. His thoroughly detailed body horror, and fear of what hides behind the facade of the mundane, his understanding of the page turn, the utterly bizarre nature of his work is entrancing. So much so that it's a real crying shame we'll never see that Silent Hills game he was working on with Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro. Honestly, Konami, I'm still bitter. Fuck you. As a fan, it should be no surprise I would love to see his work fully realized in animated form, but Junji Ito Collection is a poor adaptation. No doubt about it. It leaves me wondering if the inexperienced creators were just so intimidated by the job that they opted to change as little as possible. And that really isn't what adaptations are about, because if you don't alter anything outside of the basic tenets of the given mediums at play, then what's the point? What is Collection displaying in thematic resonance or artistry of any sort that Junji Ito hasn't already? Does this show merely serve as a shoddy megaphone to haphazardly amplify the signal? And as a result, do those with no prior experience with Ito's work come away disinterested in diving deeper? Are they less likely to go out and read Uzumaki or Tomie? If so, that's really unfortunate. As always, like, subscribe, all that nonsense, it is very much appreciated. And if you can, please donate to my Patreon. That's by far the best way to ensure that these videos keep on coming.